Have you ever, like, stopped and thought, how does the internet actually work? It feels like magic.
Yeah, it really is incredible when you think about it. You send an email
Right.
and like instantly it arrives on the other side of the world. How is that even possible?
It's crazy. Our source material for this deep dive is this simulated internet chat, where one person is kind of like explaining how the internet works to another person. It's actually a really clever way to break down something that is super complex.
It is, and the first thing it really emphasizes is that the internet
Yeah.
at its core is simply a network.
Okay, so let's start there. What exactly do we mean by a network in this context?
Imagine like a giant web connecting millions and millions of devices all over the planet. Computers, phones, tablets,
Oh, wow.
even your smart refrigerator. They're all part of this massive interconnected network.
So it's not like there's one central computer that controls everything.
Not at all. It's a distributed network,
Yep.
meaning there's no single point of failure. Each device is connected to multiple other devices, creating like a resilient and robust system.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But if there's no central control, how do all these devices find each other? It's like trying to send a letter without knowing the address.
That's where the Internet Protocol, or IP, comes in.
Okay.
Every device on the internet has a unique IP address. It's kind of like a digital fingerprint.
So it's like a street address for your computer.
Exactly. And just like a postal service uses addresses to deliver mail, the internet uses IP addresses to route data between devices.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture, but what about the data itself? How does, say, an email actually travel across this network?
Well, it doesn't just travel as like one big chunk of information. It gets broken down into smaller pieces
Okay.
called packets.
Packets, is that like dividing a message into separate envelopes?
That's a really good analogy. Each packet contains a piece of the message, along with the sender's IP address and the destination IP address.
So it's like each packet has its own little roadmap.
Precisely. And here's where it gets really interesting. Those packets don't all travel the same path to reach their destination.
Wait, really? I thought they just follow a straight line.
Nope. It's more like a choose-your-own-adventure story for each packet. They get routed through different servers and networks depending on like traffic, congestion, and various other factors.
So it's kind of chaotic. How do they all arrive at the right place and in the right order?
That's where the unsung heroes of the internet come in.
Routers.
Routers.
Huh.
Like the one I have at home for my Wi-Fi.
Exactly. Routers act like traffic directors. They're constantly analyzing network conditions and choosing the most efficient path for each packet to take.
So they're making decisions in real time about where to send these packets.
Absolutely. And they're incredibly sophisticated. They can even reroute packets around areas of congestion or like network outages to ensure the data gets through.
Wow. So it's a lot more dynamic than I imagined. It's
Right.
not just a fixed path from point A to point B. It's a constantly adapting and evolving system, which is part of what makes it so resilient.
Okay, so we've got our packets hopping between routers, but where are they ultimately headed? Where does the actual content we see online, like websites, actually live?
That's where servers come in.
Servers. What are those exactly?
Think of them as powerful computers that are specifically designed to store and deliver website data.
Okay.
When you type in a website address, your browser sends a request to the server where that website is hosted.
So every website I visit is basically stored on some supercomputer somewhere.
Pretty much. And when the server receives your request, it breaks down the website data into those packets we talked about and sends them back to your computer.
And then my browser magically reassembles them into the web page I see.
Exactly. It's happening all the time, seamlessly and incredibly fast.
Mind-blowing.
I know, right?
It's amazing how much is going on behind the scenes every time we click on a link. It's like this hidden world of data whizzing around the globe.
It really is. And we haven't even touched on the physical infrastructure that makes all of this possible.
Right. We can't forget about the cables, the wires, the actual hardware that connects all of this together.
Exactly. There are millions upon millions of miles of fiber optic cables crisscrossing the globe, carrying vast amounts of data at incredible speeds.
Fiber optic cables, what are those exactly?
They're basically strands of glass that transmit data as pulses of light. They're incredibly efficient and allow for a much faster data transfer than like traditional copper wires.
So all this data is literally traveling as light.
It is, and those fiber optic cables are often laid under the ocean, connecting continents and enabling global communication.
It's crazy to think about all these cables lying at the bottom of the ocean just so we can send emails and watch cat videos.
It is remarkable, and it highlights the sheer scale and complexity of the internet's physical infrastructure.
Okay, so we've got this vast network, data traveling in packets, websites living on servers, and a mind-boggling amount of physical infrastructure connecting it all. But there's one thing I still don't quite understand. How do we as humans actually interact with this system? I mean, I don't type in a string of numbers to visit a website.
That's where the domain name system, or DNS, comes in.
DNS, what's that?
Think of it as the internet's phone book. It translates those user-friendly website names we're all familiar with, like google.com or africalearn.co.za, into those numerical IP addresses that computers use.
So when I type in a website name, DNS looks up the corresponding IP address and tells my computer where to send the request.
Precisely. It's a crucial system that makes the internet much easier for humans to navigate. Can you imagine having to remember a long string of numbers for every website you wanted to visit?
Definitely not. My brain would be
Okay,
fried.
it's good.
So DNS is like a translator between human language and computer language.
That's a great way to put it. It bridges the gap between our human-readable world and the digital world of IP addresses, and it's all happening behind the scenes without us even realizing it.
That's incredible.
It is pretty amazing.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a remarkable system, isn't it? All of these interconnected components working together to create this seamless online experience.
It really is. And to think this simulated chat is just scratching the surface of how the internet works.
Exactly. There's so many layers of complexity we haven't even touched on.